Oh, wait,
Recruiting.
I got a better one for you.
I could just go on and on for another 30 minutes, all from
Yep.
just this week.
And that's when Comet 3I Atlas comes in. The aliens pop down and stop us and take away from the brink of World War III and that leader from the new alien craft or whatever it is. Perhaps it's the Antichrist. I don't know. But it would not surprise me with Comet 3I Atlas going to swing by here and close to Christmas be closest approach to the Earth. Have they not always talked about the fake alien invasion as the last card in the Illuminati card deck, and it was the fake alien invasion?
If you look at all of the theoretical nuclear war maps, they're always doing the 500 scenario or the 2000 scenario, right? And that's just for the continental United States. That's not counting what's going to be landing in other areas of the world.
Such a festive evening. Get out the Christmas trees and light them up.
Right. They want to make sure that no matter who you are, what corner of the internet you're at, or what you're into. You know how we've talked about how they customize your viewing and internet experience to you based on previous things that you're looking at. So if you go on Twitter, every so often they pump all the feeds with the same topic, right? So no matter who you are or what corner of the internet you're in, you're getting this. EU reveals what people need in World War III survival kits as citizens warned to prepare. World War III warning.
Now they want to scare everybody.
UK, right? Russia threatens UK. Another one. Russia's colonels, look what they're putting. This is what they're putting on every article. Russian colonel issued terrifying World War III nuclear threat to Britain and the U.S. Here's another one. Putin makes major decree as World War III faces increase after 135,000 more soldiers conscripted. Russia shifts from talk and action targeting NATO homeland amid fears of global war. Russia killing World War III warning to NATO. Shooting down Russian planes will lead. Prepare for war. France orders hospitals to ready for World War III. Here's another one. Putin deploys nuclear bombers in fear World War III. But it just goes on and on. Putin, China, and Iran will call Hexas war bluff. World War III next. World War III fears as Russian colonels warn what action will automatically cause.
Recruiting. Oh, wait, I got a better one for you.
I could just go on and on for another 30 minutes, all from just this week.
And that's when Comet 3I Atlas comes in. The aliens pop down and stop us and take away from the brink of World War III and that leader from the new alien craft or whatever it is. Perhaps it's the Antichrist. I don't know. But it would not surprise me with Comet 3I Atlas going to swing by here and close to Christmas be closest approach to the Earth. Now, if we were coming to the brink of World War III and this sentient, whatever they're trying to term it now, comet, it's not a comet, it's a craft for a better term. And again, if you're in the astronomy world, everywhere you're looking at, they're starting to look at Atlas differently. I don't know if you saw the new images come out today, but it sure looks like a winged disc from Egypt. Something like this. Now it's coming in all the science feeds. There's aliens coming. Okay, they're over there. They're not really paying attention to the news. But everywhere you look at 3I Atlas, there's aliens. They got craft. There's spinning orbs. They're coming. They're decelerating. They're accelerating. They're declining. Everything on the whole science, anything on that realms of space, science, mathematics, anything in ancient history, it's all on that side of thing. You're getting the same messaging. 3I Atlas, something strange. Think about it. Banks, billionaires, and countries are loading up on physical gold and silver. Why? Because when markets swing, real assets hold their value. That's how generational wealth is passed down. Don't wait until the headlines confirm what's already happening behind closed doors. It's time to protect what you've built. Noble Gold's precious metals specialists are standing by to answer your questions and walk you through every step. They make it simple to own investment grade gold or silver that you can put in your hands or into your retirement account. And for a limited time, offer silver bonus. 1 10-ounce silver flag bar plus 1 silver American Eagle proof coin for new qualified accounts, IRA, or cash purchases. That's 2030gold.com. And with half the world moving to a gold-backed currency, you have to wonder what's going to happen in the future. That's 2030gold.com, or click on that link in the description box below. Possible, like not natural built, actually. And then over here we got World War III rolling in super heavy. It's World War III fighting. Do these two not mix in a perfect world right here? Have they not always talked about the fake alien invasion as the last card in the Illuminati card deck, and it was the fake alien invasion? And here we sit at the precipice of World War III with the comet coming. That's not natural at all in any way, shape, or form. At least that's what they're telling us. It is a man-made or a sentient creature-made object that is equally as highly engineered as we are, or better, and they can decelerate at 130,000 miles per hour and hold course and send signals and have a fleet of orbs following it as it blazes through. All while this is happening, and it's going to coalesce right around a major holiday called Christmas in December of this year. So think about how perfect that is. Right near Christmas, you got all the New Year things coming. There's a lot of religious holidays in these 2 months coming up, right? The end of the year. It's always about harvest and bounty and eating. So within these 2 months, you got all this talk of the comet coming in, the war's coming. Bam! To walk me through it, Ransom. You're very good at this.
Well, I was gonna get there. I'm just going roundabout right here.
You're going too early, man. Hold on.
We're also coming up to the last generations of born children, and I mean in the natural way. And the ones that are about adults now, Gen Z, those are the people worldwide that are getting conscripted, and they're worried about that here too. But let's just go on and on here. Here we go. If World War III erupts, right? I just want to finish these off. I just want you to see the sheer number of it. The 5 wildest things the EU says you urgently need your World War III survival kit. How close are we to World War III? Trump increases production of some of the most powerful missiles amid World War III. Next week, they're just going to say we're in it. North Korea's blunt World War III warning from U.S. soil. Direct message to Trump on tariffs. They're saying, they're joining. And with all indications looking like South Korea has gone totally Marxist and communist, I don't see it out of the possibility in the next 5 years that they will reunify with North Korea and become a Chinese protectorate.
Well, I was just thinking that the consumption that this scare thing of news, World War III, okay, World War III, like what kind of consumptive model is this going to introduce into the public? Because everybody's saving their money right now because they understand that the economy's not doing so well. Things are kind of, switching. We're moving to digital currencies, gold and silver going crazy. So people are holding on to their money. They're not really spending because they're trying to trim back on a lot of stuff. Things are way more expensive anyway. They're just trying to, it takes more money to have the same lifestyle because everything's more expensive. So people are trimming back. They're holding on to the money. So how do you shake that money loose out of people's hands? Because the economy's stagnating a little bit, if you haven't noticed.
Fear.
Yeah, fear. Like, what is this going to drive? Like, what do you think people would buy? Oh, we got to go out and get a water filter. Oh, we need to go out and get the storable foods. We need to go out and get the lights. We need to go out and what are you going to get? Tools. Gas cans, I don't know, walk me through it. Extra fertilizer if you have a farm, extra, whatever you use on the farm, extra fertilizer. Some people use pesticides, extra oils. I don't know. Just think about the amount of consumption by all these people spooked by World War III. I'm just going to go out and even buy extra water. Like how much money extra is that going to put in the economy? And is it meant to do that?
And this is a trip talking about the, people maybe evading conscription. You're not going to. Too much digital ID biometrics out there. But not only that, say they wanted to mess with you. Here's an article about how you could take a video and in 1 minute make someone guilty of a crime. Just like I said before, you can't believe anything that you see at all. Matter of fact, video evidence now in court is going to be subject to all kinds of arguments about could it have been doctored now that we can do it. And here's this is OpenAI's Sora.
Oh, Sora. Oh, Sora 2. Yeah, the first one, Sora. We talked about this a long time ago.
Right. Realistic videos of people shoplifting. They didn't do it, but they did it. I wanted to show you this other one here that's really
And is
gross.
any of this really happening? I would pose that out there as a question to anybody. Like your news feeds are all fictitious. Have you noticed all the AI generated content just saturating you into there? Is that really real? Because you can overlay a reality on top of that that's not real. Like, are all these people that are out there on the faces of news and on the faces of politicians, what we see every day in the news, are those people even real? Do they exist? Are
Huh.
they really even there, or is it just big though? Well, you pretend like you're this thing on a screen behind you for some days a week, and then you're really not even there. That this thing is all just like one giant stage production, but the technology is so good, at least up to now, they just now it's even exponentially better. So is there even what we're seeing real, or is this really somebody behind a rug like the Wizard of Oz, and everything we're seeing of AI generated content and everything on your news feeds and everything from these TV programs, unless you can step outside and see what's in front of you, then
And even
it's an illusionary production for your mind and overlay on your reality.
is it real? I don't know. Here's a first an AI actor, now the AI director, Italian producer, blah blah blah. Just pointing out, AI's making the movies, they're writing the movies, and now they're going to be starring people that don't exist. So if they're doing it in the movies, let's think about classically what Hollywood does in relation to real events. They propagandize. They try to make movies about events that show it in a certain light, but now we can do it in real time. So by the time the internet's done debating whether or not something's real 2 weeks later, we're already in war over an event that may or may not have even happened with people that may or may not have even been real. And
The
they,
Truman Show
yeah. And then
in our own multiverse. Thanks.
this is kind of what I meant by the last generation of born people, normal people. We've talked about that.
Birthing people.
They have created a human out of three different people, like two females, one male. That person is not a normal human being with normal DNA. We have basically GMO humans, like in China, when they alter DNA. They have people with different number chromosomes by design now. And I'm not talking about Down syndrome. I'm talking about designed in the lab to be that way. And then I told you that they could make human like embryos from neither a father or a mother and make a human like entity out of it. And then they admitted that they're building DNA from scratch in synthetic DNA. And then they said, you know what? We don't even need a father or a mother. And now it's for sure. U.S. research raises possibility of IVF embryos with two genetic fathers. Now you can create a human that's not normal. It doesn't have mitochondrial DNA. And vice versa. You can make one with women without men, without a Y chromosome. But not only that, you can start from scratch that's completely different from either group of historical DNA haptype lines and create a new human and gestate it in a factory, or as in the case of China's going with walking robots, which opens up the possibility for their aging population to finally have that daughter or son that they wanted but couldn't have. But now they can. But with synthetic DNA, the kind that tells you, information about where it was created and stuff, not the kind that created the entity, because this is obvious way of kind of keeping people out of the know because they get confused when they use the same verbiage or not verbiage, the same words for different things, even though they mean different. They use the same vocabulary. Synthetic DNA literally has three different meanings depending on what you're using it. But none of these kids born like this are ever going to be able to escape or get out of the surveillance state. They'll be born with the smart dust. They're born with the synthetic DNA. And we already have that system set up in the
they'll be in the whole system from birth, so they'll never know any difference, and they'll be digitally entered into the system, like plugged in. You're actually a cube of energy that gets plugged in. It's weird how the vibrational frequency should have set us free, where the vibrational frequency of what we're allowed to or can do in a different, like a substrate, is going to be more electrified. Well, these nefarious like entities, whatever they are, have found out how to instead of us breaking free out and becoming more off of the system, have wound us in to plug us in, and we're going to be in nothing more. That movie, The Matrix, makes the most sense. You're going to be plugged in as a battery, but not like a battery like you think. It's one of the multi-prongs that plugs into the entire motherboard. A little bit different.
Well, just imagine these people are going to be born in a system that was created before it was even possible to create them. We already have birth certificates that list the father, which is the manufacturer, up until this point. Now the manufacturer will be corporate entities.
Yeah, it'll be a digital object owned by the corporation. They won't have like the rights from anything. It'll be that's scary, man.
Well, what if your country needs instantly 100,000 people for a workforce? You have two options. You can grow it. It takes 20 years, or you could build it robotically while you're growing the other stuff.
Yeah, we're going to take a short break here, but think about that. The lineage breaking off where these designer humans are going to be their own barcoded owned product as a patented being from a corporation that will be plugged into that digital system without any hesitation. It'll be the ultimate soldier. It could be where the technology sits right now. So think about this as, we're going to go back 10,000 years in time. So Younger Dryas, well, even a little further. Younger Dryas comes in, supposedly, follow the timeline. If you go back the exiting out of the ice age, somewhere around like 21,000, 23,000 years ago, then we get into where the ice age is finished completely, and it's off into this incredible melting phase like 13,000 years ago. Whoosh, we get hit with a comet on the ice sheet. That ricochets an enormous amount of ice over and causes those Carolina bays. Like, we're talking multi-ton pieces come ripping down and smashing on the earth. But there was so much evidence of this, the giant floods in the scab lands, like this thing happens, and humanity gets pushed back down to a few million, what they call them, breeding pairs. But the technology, at least that's why it started like that, is that they've told us that it's linear. Like, we didn't have any technology back then. And all of a sudden, the entire population of the entire world from 10,000 years ago, all the way only until 1600, for that 10,000 years plus, we stayed at 250 million to maybe 350 million, maybe 5 when we come in, like I say, to 1700s. That population was never allowed to go above that level for over 10,000 years in this interglacial. But now suddenly, it's allowed to run up to 8 billion. It just doesn't make sense that for 10,000 years we sat there, and in the last 300 we invented more in 300 or 400 years. And you got to think, we had 10,000 years in this time of warmth. Now, just statistically, I want you to look at the possibilities. We're told that we went from like steam engines or whatever. Okay, I'll be generous and say 1600 until 400 years to go from the steam engine to a rocket. We had 10,000 years before us. And we didn't do it now. That didn't happen during those 10,000 years that it was only allowed to happen in these last 400. You look at logically, that doesn't make sense unless we've been reset several times along the way, which they haven't told us. Okay, that could be one possibility. Second possibility is it's been kept at that like you would manage a farm. The population's been kept. This earth is a farm. Think of it this way. Population was kept in check at exactly 250 to between 500 million for 10,000 years. And then suddenly, whoosh, we're up at 8 billion, which means that they needed more laborers for whatever was going to be this task to, like, maybe bring the gold into a repository, bring the silver, bring the metals, like you mentioned, but also build out the safety areas or the government continuity that will continue, but using the plebs, for a better term, to do it, that have been brought up into this 8 billion person world that we lived in. You know, we got suddenly the technology that we brought it up to has outrun us, and we're no longer needed. Like, humans are redundant right now. It seems as if whatever the building project was that was required, the technology is finally now caught up to that point where like the task is completed. So humans are no longer needed because the task is complete. So now that should run back down to 250 to 500 million, and then it'll keep that baseline until another project is needed where the population shall be allowed to increase. Not just increasing, it is a managed increase and decrease. So this is where the technology is right now to manage that. That's what the show was about in the beginning of it, showing that where they want to know where everybody is at all time. What you're eating. If you're not eating foods from the company, you're finding your own foods. Oh, that could be dangerous. You're eating natural wild foods. You're going to have different mental capacity than somebody who just eats processed foods from a supermarket. Like if they can do it with the smart dust and do it that far down. And the reason we were talking about this, the technology is here, but now what happens? They don't need every human. That's the whole problem. Take at it from that as we come into the second hour here. So Ransom, thanks for joining me. We're definitely declining on the population on a managed level for sure. But for, what was the task that was completed for the build out is more of the question. Now, we're going to have to kind of in two different sections here. Like what was the task that needed all these humans to complete it? It's done. We're okay. Now the humans are redundant. And now how does that managed decline go? So those are completely two separate worlds of questions.
Well, I think it's, you don't even have to get woo-woo to understand that, say, if you came 5,000 years ago to Earth and you needed to build something technologic, it would be impossible. So you'd have to build something that was really smart out of stone and chemicals and elements that you could find here. But after you've built the technology, the know-how, and processed all of the right elements out so that you could have the right alloys, the right things to build chips, things like that, then you're at a point where you no longer need this massive workforce of humans digging basically with their hands out of the earth. Now you have it. It's in
but Ransom,
circulation.
why didn't they do that? Why didn't they do that 10,000 years ago instead of 5,000 years ago?
Well, there could have been reasons why they didn't. We know just from human DNA, the core species of humans. I'm not talking about any archaic other versions of species like Denisovan or, there's like 12 of them now, I think they know of. They just haven't named them. But those populations were here provably for 500,000 years. Denisovan, Neanderthal, but humans, they're just not in the dirt. They're not in the fossil record.
Yeah, bring us into the last 10,000 years.
Right. Then you get more in the last 50,000 years. Some kind of event happened back that far.
Landshap excursion or reversal.
Yeah. Something happened that forced the version of modern humans to get new genetic material or disappear. And that's exactly what they did. They branched out, they mixed with Neanderthal, they mixed with Denisovan, they mixed with any mixable hominid on the planet. And what you get today is this archaic species. So,
or were they mixed like you're talking about mixing and creating synthetic DNA, and that was done 30,000 or 50,000 years ago, and we are sitting here going, whoa, that was that explanation of how that happened? Yeah, we just gene edited, and that was genetic differently mixed. Think about if they had that tech 50,000 years ago, then the history we're told is not correct, man.
I think back then they just did it the old-fashioned way. And this is what we got now. But now's a different time. Like I said, we've refined all of the elements. We've pulled enough of it out of the earth to have industry. It's here. It's up on the top layer. It's in circulation. There's no need for literally billions of people to be pulling it out of the earth now. We have mega machines, robots, and other techniques that can just do it. Today, we could dynamite a mountain basically in, a couple of years till it's nothing but dust with giant dump trucks and, drilling machines and all kinds of stuff. So we've already got there. The proof's in the pudding. What you're looking at right now is a high-tech city in China with what essentially, 10,000 years ago speaking, if you could do this, then there would be no question that God lived in your city, right? You'd be seeing him right up in the sky.
Yeah, you would be godlike. Think about that technology. We know back, say, the first emperor of China, Huang, and they had that warring states period before that. So it was always coalescing in these the fiefdoms is the better term. There were a bunch of them. where Beijing now is the capital is not. There was a peoples there, and they'd run it. There was continuous fighting to see who could be, and always, China's a bountiful place. I mean, sheesh, the amount of grains coming out of there and everything, fruits and whatnot. I mean, you wouldn't lack for food, let's say. And go back thousands of years like this. So what is considered, when it came down to the last three, that was the Three Kingdoms period. You're going back some 2,800 years ago. So where does that take us in the timeline with that too?
Well,
they had metallurgy there at the top, the apex of it, and understood how to do, mixing different metals together to get a stronger alloy out of that thing.
This person kind of points out something here. There's a missing link that they're constantly trying to find, but that's a missing link of evolution, right?
No, the missing link is 5,000 years ago past to 10,000 years ago. That's the missing link. Like, where did that 5,000 years of time go? You can't tell me everything that we ever know and talk about and it begins at 5,000 years ago.
No.
Like, what happened to the last 5,000? We can do this in this 5,000. And what happened to the last 5,000? You can't, even if they were greatly like smashed back because of cometary impact, like people would have had that knowledge and started rebuilding things. There had to have been several resets since then. Or, like I say, the planet's managed. Jupiter Ascending is one of your best documentaries to watch.
There's no missing links that show evolution, like us transitioning from the trees to walking or nothing. However, there are examples of the first hybrids between the hominids. There are those. We found them. There's some that are first generation, third generation hybrids that we found that was just after admixture happened. So we know that happened. But like I said, now that we can create things from scratch, you no longer need these massive populations. Now an elite few, can live in complete luxury and technology if you get rid of the peasants, because the peasants will be angry. They'll be wanting the same thing. And they've been going out of their way to try to train you to be the good peasant that doesn't multiply, that doesn't procreate, that doesn't create innovation, doesn't invent new things. And I'll give you an example of this right here. A run on canned mackerel. I feed mackerel to my cat because there's so much of it in the ocean. It's not, an endangered resource of any kind. There's a lot of mackerel and tuna and stuff. Still, with 8 billion people eating fish, or, at least a portion of them, literally have been feeding my cat mackerel from the dollar store. But the reason I do that is because I know it's people food too. I can eat it. We can eat it if we need to. The cat can wait, right? But over here, they're talking about there's a run on canned mackerel, emergencies, and radios. The reason, World War III again. But
no, you're kidding me. See, they're already starting to sell out the tin goods. You better go get whatever you can get now.
Not only that, David, that it's actually good for your brain to wait in line. When you're going to get your rations,
as they would say,
in the mega cities, and think about this, if you really wanted to, like say you had 1 million mosquitoes outside, how do you get them to come to a certain place so you could kill them? You plug in a zapper.
You push a bunch of CO2 because that's what they're attracted to. That's what they sense as the food source is connected to that gas that outputs, right? So,
well, I was thinking more you would just put a bug zapper.
The mosquitoes will get all attracted in there after
you
dark.
Put a big bug zapper with a bright light.
Yeah, that would do it.
Them all in.
Oh, and then if you had a net under there, you could catch them, and then you could do whatever you want with the byproduct.
Right. But what would a human bug zapper look like? Would it look like a futuristic megacity that provides all of the amenities that you need to live with no children? Right? No children. You don't need that because you can live in luxury. And robots can serve you.